This is Evan Peterson. Evan grew up in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Like most kids in Grand Rapids, he loves playing sports, especially hockey, and he loves hanging out with his friends, too. Evan has two siblings, his younger brother Avery and his younger sister Annika. The Peterson family was going along like every other family. Mom and Dad running the kids to multiple sporting events and practices and doing everything they could to keep up with it all. Then, Linda and Tom started to notice some different behavior from their oldest son, Evan.
You know, it didn't start this year. It started, years ago, kind of wondering, seeing changes in our child, mostly cognitive, noticing increased disorganization, difficulty completing tasks.
Oh, it was affecting him cognitively. We noticed that he had lost skills of functioning, mental state, which is something you don't lose. You either have or you do not in a normal situation. We also noticed some behavioral patterns that were odd. And the big one for us was socially. His friends and group of friends pulled away from him. He ended up doing everything with Linda and I. So we were his best friends, which for a 17 and 18-year-old boy was not normal.
It was after Evan graduated and went off to his first year of college that things really started to change, and the Petersons knew that something was definitely wrong.
So he graduated in 2012 and went off to college, and then we just started noticing additional difficulties, even things like we think not remembering where a building was or keeping track of that schedule was just excruciatingly difficult for him.
A friend of Tom's, a neurologist, recommended that the Petersons get an MRI done on Evan's brain to try to figure out what was happening with him.
And so we started working with the U, and one of the first things was an MRI. And the MRI was done locally here, and that just showed, devastating images. And from that came his diagnosis.
The combination of the MRI and a number of tests revealed that Evan had metachromatic leukodystrophy, or MLD. The disease is genetic and extremely rare. MLD occurs in about 1 in 40,000 people.
The MRI showed extensive, complete global damage to the white areas of his brain, the myelination of his cells, which started out front lobal and went through the main part of the brain and was in the rear lobes also. So it showed a complete pattern, not just a front or left side or back left side. It was complete. Very scary.
The doctors told Tom and Linda there was really nothing that could be done for their son and that the Petersons should return home and just try to make Evan comfortable. But then a group of doctors at the University of Minnesota contacted the Petersons with some different news.
In meeting with the fine doctors at the University of Minnesota, we were given some hope that, they've worked with people. They've worked with people, more kids, more younger than Evan, I think, because it is so rare of a disease. And then with his more adult onset, or what they call late juvenile, it's hard to determine exactly when the onset occurred.
The university doctors had been treating certain cases of MLD with bone marrow transplants and finding success in slowing the progression of the disease and possibly even halting the progression.
And so that kind of started the hope that a bone marrow transplant could either slow the progression or maybe halt the progression. It will not change the damage that has been done. He has cognitive damage, and although we don't see it, there is peripheral nerve damage as well. So both the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system are affected by the disease.
Finding a bone marrow match was the next step, and the Petersons, as luck would have it, didn't have to look far.
So we had 2 children that were able to be donors. Now you start checking the blood work, the HLA match, and you know, miracle upon miracles. Those 2 miracles weren't enough. We were given another miracle that she was an 8 out of 8 match, perfect match, which is just beyond good news.
It was good news, and Evan's sister Annika was up for the challenge.
Watching her hold the bag of marrow and hand it over to the hospital, watching them hook it up, and then we let her flip the switch. That put it into Evan's heart. That was cool. That was worth it all at that point.
It was during the prepping for Evan's transplant that the Petersons came upon the idea of staying at the Ronald McDonald House on Oak Street, and were able to get a room there and be close to Evan during the procedure and have a place to call home during his recovery.
The gracious welcoming and the comforting, and you feel like you had a safe place to land. And when there's so many concerns you have just medically and you know, keeping the home fires going, and to know that that piece would be steady and solid and beautiful, to have that home for us was just the most immense grace placed before us.
Many people think that the house is just a place for sick kids and their families, and that it must be such a depressing place. The Petersons found out, like all the families that reside there for a while do, that the Ronald McDonald House is so much more.
Well, you do. You see pain and suffering, but you also see smiles and joy and relief, and parents being able to, you know, take a minute. And that is beyond caring for, you know, your community. What we received there from everyone every day was just uplifting. It's the work of God. I mean, that's good stuff.
Tom summed it up best. He told us what he feels the Ronald McDonald House is.
And it was just a couple weeks ago when I finally put my finger on it, and I was wondering, what is the Ronald McDonald House? The part with the volunteers is unbelievable. But I figured it's love. That's what the Ronald McDonald House is. It's unbelievable.
Evan's recovery is going well. The Petersons are back home in Grand Rapids now, and their strong faith is helping them continue to heal and move forward. They look back on their time at the Ronald McDonald House and feel blessed that they were able to receive such great care and love from the house that love built.
It's an awesome place. It's a great cause. I'm dedicated to life for what they did for my family. It's one of the best organizations I've ever ran across or been involved with. Not great instances or circumstances to be involved with something, but there's good in everything. And that was one of the best things that came up. For not only me, but for the other families I witnessed, for my children, for my son. It's an amazing place. It's awesome.